Here are 5 tips and tricks to help you earn a score of 27 plus on your TOEFL writing section. Hello, my name is Mr. Hearn, and I am your TOEFL tutor. If you haven't already, subscribe, like, share, you know what to do. What you may not know is exactly what you need to do to easily earn that score of 27 plus on your writing section. Now let's take a look at what those things are. Here it is. The first thing I want to tell you is this information that comes directly from ETS, that's Educational Testing Services, the makers of the TOEFL IBT. And it says, don't try to create an answer by memorizing sentences or paragraphs or various topics before the test, and then trying to relate them to the topic you receive, because the content won't be appropriate and you'll just receive a low score. In other words, stop using templates. ETS is telling you, don't use templates. You'll get a lower score. I know there's so many people out there selling templates, teaching templates, providing templates. Stop using them. ETS tells you exactly what to do and how to do it. The most beautiful thing about the writing section is they give you the information you need to answer the questions. You just need to know how to take appropriate notes and structure your responses the way the graders want you to. That's what we're going to learn in this video. I'm going to show you about taking appropriate notes, why you're taking the appropriate notes, and how to structure your response to get that respectable passing score. Take a look. TOEFL IBT writing section. What do the instructions say? This section measures your ability to write in English to communicate in an academic environment. Do you get it? They're not telling you that you have to write perfectly. They're not telling you that you need to know about the subject. They're not telling you that you have to explain everything you understand about a subject. It's way, way, way more simple than that. And whether you're just going for your license or you're trying to pass your TOEFL to be accepted to a prestigious university, it doesn't matter. You still have to do what the graders want you to do. So let me show you those things that you have to do. And don't just run away, because every one of these steps is important, okay? If you get the steps right, you get a high score. So let's take a look at those steps you must follow to get that respectable passing score. Let's take a look. Tip number 1, when writing your response, use the structure the graders are looking for. Take a look at this reading passage from question number 1. You'll notice that it has 4 paragraphs. There's an introduction paragraph and 3 body paragraphs to begin with first, second, and third. Once the 3 minutes have expired, the reading passage will go away and you will see a picture on the screen, and you'll hear the narrator say, "Now listen to part of a lecture on a topic you just read about." And this is the transcript from the listening passage for the same question. Notice that this also has 4 paragraphs, an introduction paragraph and 3 body paragraphs that begin with first, second, and third. So tip number 1 is to structure your response in the way the graders want you to. And how do they want you to? They show you what they want. The TOEFL is so easy once you know how it works. Not only do they give you the answers, they give you all the information you need to answer the questions. You just have to know what they want from you. And what they want in question number 1 in the writing section is to structure your response with a 4-paragraph essay. Okay, so we're going to do that. And next, we're going to learn about tip number 2, taking notes. Take a look. Tip number 2, taking notes. I strongly suggest that you use this template. Now, not a template of how to write, but a template for how to take notes, okay? And the reason I'm suggesting that you use this structure for taking notes is that the graders are going to have their own notes to look at when they're grading your essay. And those notes look like this. Aha! Are you starting to see something here? I'm not just telling you what I think you should do to get a high score. I am teaching you exactly what ETS wants you to do. The graders have notes that they're going to be looking at. Keep in mind that this whole exercise is asking you, hey, are you ready to go to university in the United States and do well? Regardless whether that's your intention or not, you still have to do things the way they want you to do it on the test. Now, what they're testing you on is when you go to university, you're going to be given a reading assignment. And then you're going to be in a classroom and you're going to hear a boring lecture that's going to be 2 or 3 hours long. You're going to have to take notes. And then you're going to go back to your dorm where you're going to write an essay that compares how the listening in the lecture relates to the reading. You will have the ability to read the part again because you'll have your books with you, but you won't have the lecture with you. So this whole task is asking you, hey, can you take good notes in a lecture? Prove it. Write a little essay that shows me that you can take good notes and tell me, how does that lecture compare to the reading part? So that's what we're doing. We are learning how to read part of a lecture and take notes, and then listen to a lecture on a related topic and take notes. And then we're going to summarize the listening part and state how it relates to the reading part. You will have access to the reading again, so they know that you're going to write all about the reading part and not much about the listening part. And that's what most people do. Because you have the reading in front of you, you write all about the reading and you mention the listening. If you do that, you're not going to pass. What you need to do to pass is to summarize the lecture. In fact, that's what the question tells you to do, right? The prompt at the end tells you summarize the lecture and state how it relates to the reading. That's what they want. So we're going to take notes in the reading and the listening. And this is the structure that you're going to use if you want to pass. As you can see, at the top, I have the main topic. Both passages will be about the same main topic. You'll notice on the left side, I have reading and the main idea. We're going to write the main idea there. And on the right, I have the listening and the main idea. And in the middle, I have support or oppose. You're not going to write that. If they're supporting, you will write support. If they're opposing, you'll write oppose. And then below that in the body, you'll see the reading on the left and the listening on the right. On the left, I have the main point in the detail, second main point in detail, third main point in detail, and directly across from those, I have the related main points for each one in the reading. This correlates exactly with the notes that your grader is going to have, with the exception of the top where they don't have the part about the main idea. But remember, they're not writing an essay, they're just scoring it. We're going to take notes using this structure so you can write your essay. Okay, so you can see that it's important to take your notes and it's important to structure them in a certain way, because when you write your notes in the way that I show you, it makes it almost impossible to get a low score. When you're writing, you're just talking about the stuff in the listening section and comparing it to the reading section, and then writing the stuff in the listening section and comparing it to the reading, and then write the stuff in the third idea in the reading section and comparing it to the listening. All right, take notes. Come on, this is important stuff. You're going to pass your TOEFL IBT once and for all. So let's take a look at tip number 3. Tip number 3. Notice how the ETS grader's notes are very comprehensive. There's no way I would write this much stuff if I were taking notes. I don't have enough time, and it just isn't necessary. Take a look at a sample notes that I've made of the same lecture. You'll notice that I don't have nearly as many words as the example for the notes that the graders have. And you'll also notice that I don't even have full words in my notes. You want to write as quickly as you can, as concisely as you can. Be sure that when you're taking notes, that you understand your notes when you're trying to write. That's important. Okay, so tip number 3 is You don't have to take extensive notes. You're only taking notes of the main ideas. Think of these two questions. What are they talking about, and what did they say about it? That's the questions you're asking throughout the entire test. What's the main topic of the sentence, and what are they saying about it? Because when you're writing your essay, you're going to be writing about both passages were about this main idea. And the listening passage opposes the reading passage, or the listening passage supports the reading passage, and that's your introduction. And then you'll get into each body paragraph by stating details about the topic from the listening, stating how it relates to the reading, and then briefly mentioning the related topic from the reading. Let's take a look at what a sample essay would look like with those notes. This is an example of a high-scoring essay. Notice that it has 4 paragraphs. Now, although I don't begin with first, second, and third, I begin with in the lecture, furthermore, finally, because connection words and phrases are necessary. But I always start talking about the listening part, or the lecture, first. Then I state how it relates to the reading, and I briefly state what the related information was from the reading. This is tip number 4. You have to talk about the listening first, then state how it relates to the reading part. Okay, now you may have people that say, oh, mister, I know somebody who talks about the reading first and then the listening, and they still pass their test. Great, but you know what? If you really want to guarantee that you pass the test with a respectable passing score, do what the graders want you to. It isn't hard. Just do it. Talk about the listening first, the lecture, because they want to know, did you take good notes in the lecture? You also must clearly state how the lecture relates to the reading. If you don't state how the lecture relates to the reading, you get a 2 out of 5. I know you want a 30. Guess what? There's a raw score, and then there's the TOEFL score. They score the test from 0 to 5 in each essay. If you want to pass your test, you need a 4.0 or a 5, right? Between 4.0 and 5. If you're scoring 3.5 or less, 3.75 or less, you're going to test again. If you want to score 4.0 and higher, do what I'm showing you. It's so freaking easy. Well, tip number 4 is actually tip number 5, because the first one was a bonus where I showed you to not use templates. But I still want to give you a 5th tip, right? Because that's what I do. Give you 5 tips so you can get that high score. Let's take a look at tip number 5. Tip number 5 ties it all together. This is an example of an essay that scores a 5 and the rater's comments. You'll notice that it is a 4-paragraph essay. You notice there's an introduction paragraph, and each of the body paragraphs begin firstly, secondly, thirdly. You will notice also that the grammar is not perfect in this essay. In other words, tip number 5, you can make grammatical errors and still earn a perfect score. You can take a moment to pause this video and read this essay, and you can see that there are some serious grammatical errors. However, you'll also see it's a 4-paragraph essay. They talk about the listening part first. They clearly state how the listening relates to the reading, and they briefly mention the related information from the reading. And that's tip number 5. You don't have to write in perfect English to get a perfect writing score. Now look, if you're tired of taking the TOEFL IBT and you want to pass this stupid test this time, come and subscribe to my online video course and let me show you step by step exactly what ETS requires of you for every section on the test, for every question, so that you can easily score 110 plus. I know it sounds crazy if you've been struggling a long time, but it is possible. When you're doing what ETS wants of you, you get what you want, that respectable passing score. I also give one-on-one classes via Zoom. So if you're interested in that, email me, let me know. All right, that's it for this video. I'll see you in the next one.